it's Vamp Faye, and welcome back to my channel. As promised, here is part 2 of my problem with Kuckian cosmetics. Bear with me here, guys. I'm not feeling really well, so this is probably going to be a one take. I'm probably not going to do any editing other than throwing some reference slides in, and I'm going to kind of go pretty fast here, short, sweet, to the point. I've got a hot drink in front of me. My throat's killing me. I got sick from being in contact with another family member, and I'm really not feeling well today. But I promised you guys that I was going to do this, and I keep my promises. So let's dive into this. So first of all, I cannot believe that in order to counter all of the drama and what everybody is saying, the person that we're talking about here decided to make an exposed video on himself, basically saying some things to try to defend why people were, there were claims of someone finding colors of the eyeshadows on another website. There was another that was claiming that they found the containers on, I believe it was like Alibaba, but I'm not 100% sure on that, so that they're not as bespoke as what he thought. There's a bunch of holes in this video, and not only are there holes, there's a lot of word twisting going on. So I'm just going to get into this. Now, mind you, I got some notes because I want to make sure I hit these topics. I want to make sure I explain them correctly, so just bear with me here. But the first thing is, and first and foremost, I didn't realize that these items were being sold and shipped from the US. That was something I obviously didn't look into enough and did not understand. So, there's reasons behind that. Here's my theory. First off, he's using a private label company. And more likely that private label company is in China. And I'll explain that in a few moments why I think that. And he's using a US distributor in order to send these out. Or he's hired people to ship this stuff out for him from their own physical addresses. I'm interested to find out what the mailing labels will say as to whether or not they have a P.O. box listed, which is illegal, or if there is an actual company name and address on them. Per FDA rules for cosmetics, you cannot ship anything and use just a P.O. box. You have to have a physical company address for it. So, one of the biggest advantages of selling from the US is that registration with the FDA is voluntary. You don't have to do it. You're highly suggested to do it if you're a home manufacturer or a small company, which we're going to lump into small company at this point. You don't have to. Again, highly encouraged, but you don't have to do it. Some of the holes in the US aren't, our laws aren't always the best on certain things, and this is definitely case in point. I think that he's exploiting a loophole. So, unless something is really wrong with the product, say people are getting sick from it, they're having issues with eyes from pigment colors or whatever, unless there's a bunch of complaints with the FDA isn't really going to look into this unless they have a specific reason to do so. So that's the advantage of doing it from the US. There's a couple of other ones, but that's the biggest one. The second one is he was talking about how he thought he was going to have enough available, didn't realize how much was going to sell now that there's, a second date of sometime in January for shipment, but it'll probably be faster from that. This is a dead-on tell for me that he is using a private label company to make these, and more than likely they're being made in China or someplace else in Asia. China is going to be where you're going to be able to get it to be made the cheapest. When importing things into the US, before they can be shipped, especially if you're importing large amounts of items like this, they have to go through customs. Customs can take anywhere from a couple of weeks to a couple of months, just depending on what the item is, what's being looked at. There's a lot of things that go into it, but it's one of those reasons that if you live in the US and if you've ever ordered something off of eBay or Amazon or, Wish or any seller that's obviously shipping from China, why you get a window of time as to when to expect it and not an exact date, because it has to clear customs. No matter how big or how small the package is, they come in a big container and they have to be cleared before they can be shipped on. So that's a big tell for me. The next one, and this one I cannot believe that he did. He has openly admitted to fraud with the UK. He has stated that in order to avoid UK customs problems, the packages are going to be valued at $14.99. Now, I don't know if that was $14.99 in US dollars or $14.99 in pounds, but using that specific number, apparently there is a number that if you list your value of your package that or below, that customs doesn't question it. You're also not going to have to pay duty fees, import fees, things like that. He's purposely admitted that an item he's selling for $24 in the US, he is going to ship with a value of $14.99. Now, with that being said, that's another tell for me, because my thought is that this is either A, the amount of money he's willing to be out per each item, or B, what the initial cost is of the item, including shipping. That's the amount that he can take a loss for. Usually your pricing structure when you're pricing a retail item is 3 times the base price of what it costs to make. So using that $19.99 number gives us a lot of things. But the biggest one is, this is customs fraud. If you're not valuing that package at what it's supposed to be, especially stating he was putting it for that to come into the UK, you know, you guys that are in the UK, you might want to let the proper authorities know about this, because that's going to be a major problem. And again, it's fraud. If he gets caught, it's fraud. So the next one, the packaging. Gotta take a drink. My throat's killing me. Packaging. So he started showing all of these little sample tubes, and you know how somebody supposedly found one on a website that looks similar, and the processes, and how, you know, everything was, you know, hot stamped, and, you know, comparing it to a fancy car for his packaging and his labeling. Well, he also made a claim in there that in doing the packaging prospect and trying to find something he liked, that he had to buy runs of 10,000 each. No, you don't have to buy runs of 10,000. When you're working with a company and working on packaging, you can get samples. They will do sample runs in small batches so you can inspect, see if it's what you want to use. They also, if you're going into branding, you can have things hot stamped or silk screened. Apparently these tubes are silk screened, which cost a little bit more to make it a little bit nicer. And I'm quoting. But when you're working with a company on packaging, unless you're completely doing it yourself, which we can tell from what he's got at this point, he's not doing it himself, but he's definitely got somebody involved helping. These companies do limited runs of these to see what they look like, get customer approval, and then once there's an approval, at that point, there are minimum orders of 10,000 or 20,000 or whatever the number is for the company that you're using. So claiming that this is this bespoke product tubing that he has had to have runs of 10,000 each, that's another big problem with that, because if indeed he bought them in increments of 10,000, which if he bought them from, you know, one of those sites that I just mentioned, you know, I've looked at a couple of the videos, other people's theories, you may have had to buy them, or he may have had to buy them in those amounts. So that brings another issue. What's he going to do with all of the waste? It's a lot of plastic. There's going to be a lot of recycling going on. To me, that's just wasted money, but if you bought them dirt cheap, it really doesn't matter. But again, that's my theory on this. If you're truly working with a professional packaging company, they're going to do sample lots of things for you to look at and approve. So that's the next one. Now, we're going to get into the biggie here. He has made a claim that the reason he's selling them from the US is because he has to get paperwork done in the UK, and that it is UK law that you cannot sell a product in UK cosmetics that has been tested on animals. That is not true. and I've got the links below to back all of that up. I'm going to insert a couple slides. There was a regulation set out in 2009 by the European Union regarding cosmetics and how things had to be done. There have been some amendments since then, and I believe it was 2014 maybe. I'll make the correction in a little text thing here. There was a mandate that came down from the UK regarding products with animal testing. And I'm going to read this because I want to make sure I get it correctly. Cosmetics in the UK cannot contain newly created ingredients that were tested on animals. So as long as you use ingredients off of a pre-approved list, and there's a very huge list on the website that I'm going to reference, as long as you're using things from that list and you're not creating a new product such as a polymer or a new colorant or something that he wouldn't have the money to go into research and development on this to begin with. But you can sell items in the UK that have been tested on animals. If you want to claim that it's cruelty-free and animal testing-free, you have to be able to back your claim up. And you better have your papers in order and your receipts in order and be willing to prove your paper trail on the products that you use to create that product. If it was truly illegal for items to be sold in the UK that were not tested on animals, then companies such as, and I've got a list here, Clinique, Lancome, Kiehl's, L'Oreal Paris, Olay, MAC, La Mer, Dior, Benefit, Estee Lauder. These are all companies that have huge sales all around the globe. A lot of these products are created in Japan. Japan requires animal testing on everything. Otherwise, you can't sell it in Japan. You can source ingredients and have it made elsewhere with ingredients that are sourced that are cruelty-free. Again, you better be able to back that all up. But there is no law saying you cannot sell items in the UK that have not been tested on animals. You cannot sell items with newly created ingredients that were tested on animals. So as long as, again, it's off that pre-approved list, that pre-approved list is going to have ingredients that have been previously tested on animals. They may not be currently testing on them now for production purposes, but in order to get those things originally passed and approved, and a lot of those items on that list were tested on animals. It's that simple. Now, for the animal's sake, I really do hope that this stuff is cruelty-free, because I do heavily believe in cruelty-free makeup. I do use some things that are not cruelty-free, but I do tend to support brands that are. Here in the US, again, it's one of those things they can kind of skirt around it. They can claim it. There's not going to be a lot of investigation into it unless there's complaints. But this also brings back to the UK and about being able to sell from the UK. Apparently, it is true that you have to have a huge initial filing of paperwork in order to be able to sell within the UK. It's going to cost a lot of money. There's going to be a lot of people involved. There's going to be attorneys involved. In order to do all of this, he's going to have to put that out in order to base everything in the UK. But for now, he's not based in the UK. It's being based in the US. And again, you know, it's all how you word things. If you word things a certain way, you can get people to believe what you're saying without necessarily telling an untruth, but by twisting words. And I think that in order to try to get the point across that this is supposed to be a cruelty-free brand, he's twisting his words. Again, there's no law that says you cannot sell something in the UK that has not been tested on animals. And one of the other big things that I did pull from the research was safety. And this is another issue as to why it's going to take him time to get the UK approvals. Because as part of all of that paperwork, you have to go through extensive product testing to prove your product is safe. It has to go through labs that are pre-approved with certain levels of being under a certain level of someone that has say a microbiology degree and then certifications. So yeah, that's not an untruth, but again, it's kind of twisting because he's using deceptive means to be able to import this to the US or to the UK. So what I originally thought was items that were being imported into the US are actually being shipped from the US. They may be being imported by a distributor from China. Again, that is my thought process on this. And I'm kind of just like sitting back and going, you know, there's no saying. Give someone enough rope and eventually they're going to hang themselves. And I think that's coming. So anyway, guys, that's my 2 cents worth. Subscribe, hit the like button if you like this, pass this on. You know, I'm really very shocked and very pleased with the reception of the first video. And I'm sorry that this one isn't a little more in depth and a little more polished, but I really am not feeling well. And tomorrow, I promise I will work on getting that other one done and up. It's mostly filmed. It just needs edited, and I suck at editing, as you could tell from the first one. Also, I wanted to apologize as well about the music on that other video. I am leaving it up, but if the music is too loud, I don't blame you. Editing is new to me, putting music in is new to me, and I didn't do a good job, and I apologize, guys. But I appreciate you guys bearing with me with this, and thank you for being part of the Vamp Fae family. And if you're not already, subscribe, and I will see you guys all later. I'm going to get this video uploaded, and I'm going to go to bed, and hopefully I'll feel better tomorrow. Bye!